So today I want to talk about moving to Jamaica. I've noticed recently on social media that many people are making videos that they're moving back to Jamaica or moving to Jamaica. And I'm not going to make any judgments personally because everyone has their reasons for doing that. Okay? But the reactions in the comment sections are varied. Some people are saying, "Oh, that's amazing, good for you." Because Jamaica is a beautiful place. Your stress will go way down, and so on and so forth, right? So there's some very positive feedback, and people are giving high praises about living in Jamaica, while others have the total opposite reaction. Some people are saying, "Are you crazy? Why would you move to a third world country, right? Why would you risk your life or I don't know, maybe um, your way of life, basically. Why would you risk, you know, your way of life moving to a country like Jamaica? Because they're saying that crime rate is high and a lot of negative stuff, could happen. And sure, that's a matter of opinions, right? But there are some factual truths to some of what people are saying, right? So anyway you look at it, Jamaica is an amazing country. It's a beautiful country. you know, Beautiful beaches. The culture is amazing, vibrant culture. The food, wow. That jerk chicken, I just love jerk chicken. I mean, there's so many different foods that Jamaica offers, and living in Jamaica has its pros and cons. Okay, I mean, like I said before, the culture is amazing. Most likely, you'll most likely be less stressed than living in North America. Okay, um, there's better work-life balance there. There's just so much things to do. When I noticed that if you visit Jamaica, people are very warm and welcoming, and so obviously that's going to contribute to you being more happy. Okay, but the downside is you may suffer with the public service. For example, hospitals, banking systems. The fact is they need to be upgraded. Sure, in North America also they need better public service, but it's really not as advanced. In Jamaica, the public service is not advanced, right? Like so, hospitals. You've seen horror stories about the conditions of hospital. People are like on the floor, in like body fluids. Sorry to be so graphic, but it's just not a pretty sight. In some of the hospitals, like in the public hospitals, not enough doctors, not enough ambulances. It's just not a good situation, right? The banking system, you pretty much have to give a blood sample to get an account, to withdraw money. There's just so much limitations, right? So again, there's pros and cons, right? But people have their own reasons for moving, to a country like Jamaica, right? A beautiful country like Jamaica. Some is for economic reasons, right? I mentioned before that the cost of living in North America is horrendous. You know, People are deciding whether to pay their mortgage or rent or eat. That's how bad it is. The food banks right now they are appealing for more donations because right now they're overrun with people requiring food. Even people that are working full-time jobs, they can't afford groceries. They can't afford to pay their rent. They can't afford, to buy groceries and stuff like that. So it's really, really tough, right? You got gas prices that are high. You have to be paying car insurance, car payments. Bills never end when you live in North America. Okay, and so moving to Jamaica may offer some economic benefits, right? If you're making, if you're still making a certain amount of money, if say for example, if you're working remotely from Jamaica, you're getting paid in US dollars. Your money may stretch a little bit further than if you're living in the US or Canada. Okay, so you'll have a more comfortable life economically there. You can afford if you're renting. Maybe you can live. You could pay. I mean, rent in Jamaica is probably pretty high too. But again, because of the value of the Canadian or US dollars, you may fare better living in Jamaica. Plus, if you buy a property there and you can grow your own crops, you don't have to buy so much groceries. The air is fresher, and the level of your lifestyle, like the quality of your lifestyle may improve because less stress usually means better health. Okay, so there's advantages and disadvantages of moving in Jamaica. So put in the comments, guys. Thanks for joining. Please hit the subscribe button, folks. If you enjoy topics like this, we're talking about moving uh, from Canada or the US to Jamaica. I've seen many people on social media recently saying, "Hey, I'm moving back to Jamaica, yay!" And the comments vary. Some people are saying, "Wow, that's amazing, good for you, girl or guy, whatever." You know, go do your thing. It's Jamaica is less stress, and there's it's just a beautiful country, which is true. Um, and if you've been to Jamaica, you've seen the beaches, you've experienced the vibrant culture, the people are friendly, the fruits are fresh, the food is delicious. There's just so much vibrancy and positivity, you know, to moving to Jamaica, or at least to Jamaica itself, right? But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? Statistically, the crime rate is very high in Jamaica. It's very high. Okay. At one, some statistics say that Jamaica has the highest crime rate in the world, or murder rate in the world. I could argue to say that, look, crime is everywhere, which is very true. Okay, you can't escape crime. Even if you live in the most upscale neighborhood, crime is there. Okay, it's just the type of world we live in, unfortunately. Okay, but the risk of living in certain areas may be higher. And look, there are many places in Jamaica that are way safer than places in Canada or the US. Okay. So again, it's a matter of balance, okay, and perspective. Now, what I personally think and what is a fact is that there are challenges in the healthcare sector, and the public service sector in general in Jamaica. Okay, I've seen some horror stories. The conditions of the hospital is very bad, of most of the hospitals, right? Um, there's not enough beds. You're sleeping on the floor. It's just really a mess. Okay, and look, it's similar situation in some hospitals, in the U.S. or Canada, right? So again, it's a matter of perspective, but it could be, what's the norm? Okay, is that the norm? But you could be in danger of, if you don't have, for example, insurance, medical insurance, and living in Jamaica, and you're depending on the public hospitals, that could be quite catastrophic for you. I'm sorry, guys. I have braces, so it's hard for me to pronounce certain words. So it could be, pretty bad for you if you don't have enough money. You have to pay the doctors, and it could be challenging. Okay, um, not enough ambulances, to open a bank account. From what I know, I don't live in Jamaica. From what I know is, or what I've heard, is that you need like passport. You need so much information to just to open a bank account. You need a letter from your boss. It's just pretty hard to deal with banks, and just it's a slower pace, right? There's nothing wrong with a slower pace, a laid back pace living in Jamaica. It's amazing, but for public service, you're probably going to be frustrated if you're not used to the level of public service that you're getting. Okay, so put in the comments, guys. Would you live in Jamaica? Is crime or slow customer service a deal breaker for you? What would be a deal breaker in moving to Jamaica? Put in the comments, guys. Tell me what you think, and please hit the subscribe button if you like these type of topics. Hit the subscribe button, folks. I mean, I took my family to Jamaica the first time. last year. We stayed in Royalton Negril. It was an amazing experience. We loved it. And funny thing is, we wanted to explore. We wanted to explore Jamaica. We wanted to go out and mingle with the locals and just have fun. You know, I mean, the resort's wonderful, fine, but I think if you're going to go on vacation anywhere for that matter, I think you should be able to go on the streets and mingle and with people, right? That is a vacation, right? Not being stuck on a resort. I mean, there's nothing wrong with stuck being on a resort if that's what you like. That's your thing. But we wanted to go out, and get some street food, right? Get some nice fruits, whatever. And then the person that we asked, the hotel staff, he said, hey, can we get a taxi? We want to go out and you know just mingle. And he said, no, don't do that. They were really stern. They said, no, 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 don't do that. It's safer here at the hotel. And look, maybe they're right, but the way they're talking, I don't think it was warranted. No, nobody's gonna just attack you off the street. As a matter of fact, I think tourists are more safe in Jamaica than the locals. And it happens a lot. Maybe the hotel wants you to spend your money there versus on the streets, maybe. But I think it's really bad for business to say you're gonna get mugged or whatever if you leave the resort. That's kind of painting. Well, it is painting a bad image of the country, and Jamaica is not like that. Again, crime is everywhere. Okay, so that part, if the way that they're painting Jamaica is what it really was, then yeah, why would you want to move there and risk your life and move there? But look, North America is the same thing. There's crime everywhere. Anything can happen anywhere. Okay. Me personally, I love Jamaica, and but I'm not sure if I could live there because I'm used to the way of life in here in Canada. But um, I don't know. But for me personally, I'm not saying Canada is better, whatever, because trust me, Jamaica is amazing, and I want to go there so badly right now. You know, um, and people are moving there because they want a slower pace of life. As I mentioned before, uh, the cost of living is probably a little bit better, you know, compared to the dollars you're making here, right? Because the minimum wage here is very low compared to US or Canada. I mean, it is low here too. Everything's all relative. Okay, a dollar is a dollar anywhere you go. That's what people say, right? Um, but again, it's all a matter of preference. Some people may like the challenge of living somewhere where the economy is maybe not as performative as in Canada, US. So put in the comments, guys. What do you think? Would you live in Jamaica? Would you? Do you think there's more pros than cons living in Jamaica? What's your opinion, guys? Put in the comments and hit the subscribe button, folks. If you like these type of topics, please put in the comments what you think about this. And it's not only in Jamaica. People are moving to various other countries. Trinidad. They're moving back home to India. Various places. Some people were born in the country that they're moving back to. So, like so you have Jamaicans that maybe they were born in Jamaica and they moved to the U.S. when they were a kid and they're moving back now for whatever reason, or they're red-blooded Americans and moving back to Jamaica. Okay, but regardless, guys, it's all a matter of what you want, right? But there are challenges to everything. There's challenges right here in Canada. There's challenges in the U.S. But I've never really thought seriously about moving back there. When you visit, sure, it's fun, it's vibrant, the food is amazing, the people are very warm, right? But visiting and living there are two different things, right? Um, you I mean, does visiting 2 weeks, for 2 weeks represent living there? No, it doesn't. It represents, yeah, people want you to come back, they want you to stay, so they're going to treat you nice. But people are nice. People are generally nice. They're going to treat you way better, than people that are living there because, you're not Jamaican. They want you to feel welcome and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I've visited Philippines and it was so amazing. I felt pretty much like a king. The Filipino people are they treated me like a king. I mean, God bless the Filipino people. They're so welcoming, right? So it's just really interesting to see how people, the different cultures, and how people treat you relative to where you live, right? I mean, maybe people in the Philippines are probably saying, "Hey, when I go to Canada, I feel much better than when I'm in the Philippines." I mean, I don't know, but my experience is when I visit other places, I feel that they treat me way better than where I live. Okay. Um, Again, as I mentioned before, went to the Philippines. Everybody wants to talk to me. Everybody wants to say hi, where you're from, blah blah. Maybe that's normal, right? That's fine. But I never felt unsafe. I never felt like all stressed out. I don't even remember watching television. When I was there, I was just there's just so much thing to do, right? And so moving to Jamaica maybe similar. It's a different culture, a different feel. Your mindset is going to change, right? So maybe those type of positive changes and positive experiences will offset the negatives that people are concerned about. Such as crime, slow public service, and any other challenges. I mean, imagine waking up and smelling fresh air from the beach or the river. You know, just just fresh stuff without chemicals, without a lot of pesticides. And I mean, yeah, maybe they use pesticides now, but in general, things are more fresh. Things are more genuine. It's I think it would be a good experience. But for me, you know, I don't know. Maybe I could. Maybe I couldn't. But it's a really interesting thought. So put in the comments, guys. Would you move to the beautiful country of Jamaica? I mean, personally, Canada is very stressful. Look, I'm driving 2 hours to work right now, or about an hour and a half. So I'm spending 3 to 4 hours just going to work. Okay. Um, and hey, I don't get paid for overtime because salary, whatever. But I have to do it if I want to keep my job. If I want to get things done, then all my money is gone. As soon as you get paid, boom, rent, mortgage, whatever, gone. Car payments, whatever, gone. Insurance, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that's what we do here. North America, just work, work, work. And sure, you need to work in Jamaica too, right? Yeah, I mean, unless you're rich, right? But I think the work-life balance will be different in Jamaica versus here in Canada or the US, right? Again, what we do here in North America is work, pay bills, work, pay bills. Okay, the summer comes along, yeah, maybe go around, they'll have some festivals, go once in a while, go shopping. I don't know. Jamaica, there's so much stuff to do there. So much better stuff. Like in terms of the atmosphere is less stressful. North America, everybody is so stressed out. You know, look so grumpy. You go to the store, people are you're getting dirty looks all over. Um, Maybe it happens in Jamaica, but I think the atmosphere will be better socially. The atmosphere is better. Less stress. You know, based on the environment. Again, it depends on where you live. I mean, I'm sure Kingston or those cities are bustling and maybe a little bit stressful too, such as here. But I don't know. I think in terms of the way of life, Jamaica is laid back. you know. Yeah, I think Jamaica is laid back, man. Let's see, what am I doing here? So put in the comments, guys. Would you move to the Irie Island of Jamaica? Why am I talking like that? I mean, I definitely want to take a trip there. I went there last year with my family for the first time. We had so much fun. So much fun, guys. Let's see here. Oh, my Bluetooth's on. Oh, guys, can you hear me? Oh, hello. What's up? I'm so sorry, guys. Hello, Roblox. I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't see your Oh, I tapped my Bluetooth. Hopefully, you guys could hear me. Guys, maybe you couldn't hear me, guys. Maybe What's up, guys? Welcome, welcome. We are talking about moving to Jamaica. I've been talking for more than 20 minutes, but I'm not sure if you guys could hear me because the Bluetooth was on. So I do apologize, guys. So please hit that subscribe button, folks. Um, if you're just joining us, I'm talking about many people that are moving to Jamaica. I've seen people on social media saying, "Hey, I'm moving to Jamaica! Yay!" And the reactions in the comment sections vary. Some people are saying, "Are you crazy? Why would you move to Jamaica with all the crime and all? Like the poor public service and stuff like that. Blah blah blah. Why are you taking that risk?" And others are saying, "Hey, good for you. Enjoy yourself. You'll have less stress. There's so much to do in Jamaica. The beaches are beautiful, and so on and so forth." Right? Um, so my take is, Jamaica is an amazing country. You know, Beautiful sceneries, fresh fruits, vegetables, food. Jamaican food is the best. I love Jamaican food. You know, Amazing, amazing food. Um, People are amazing. You get treated. I mean, maybe it's natural for people to treat tourists better than if you live there, but overall, the culture, people are way more friendly than here in North America. Way, way more friendly, right? So, hey, who wouldn't want to live in a place like Jamaica? Everybody has their own reasons for living in Jamaica. Some people live there for, move there for, economic reasons. Right now in North America, people cannot afford mortgage, rent. They can't afford groceries, right? I mean, we're working like crazy here, just paying bills, paying bills. Like I said, we got mortgage, rent, car insurance, car payments. We gotta, feed our family. We gotta, if we don't have insurance, we have to pay for medication. Yeah, it's not a good situation. And on top of that, there's a lot of stress. You know, Mainly due to the issues that I just talked about. Working overtime and giving a tax man all of your money. Yeah, it's horrible. Now, if you live in Jamaica, look, cost of living is still very high in Jamaica. But if you're living in Jamaica and you're making US or Canadian money or salaries, you should be okay, right? Hey, what's going on? Thank you for joining. I appreciate you, Carvello. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm driving, so I can't really, see your name or messages too well. But I'm safe because this car's automated. Yeah. So, like I was saying, guys, sorry. Um, living in Jamaica has its advantages. First of all, the atmosphere is amazing. People are way more friendly. The food is, sorry, genuinely fresh. The air, there's so much. There's a beach. It's just a totally different atmosphere than living in North America, right? So there's pros and cons. It's not all it's not all peachy. There's statistically they're saying that the crime rate is higher than a lot of places, and so if you go to Jamaica, in many places there is, I guess you call it grills that people put on their houses, you know, to make sure that people can't break in. And you could argue that look, crime is everywhere, which it is. The U.S., Canada, crime is rampant, right? Um, but it's all a matter of perspective, all a matter of what you're willing to accept. And some people just think that living here is better. Um, or how about you guys? Would you rather live here in like Canada or the U.S., or would you rather live in Jamaica? Tell me, what's your opinion, guys? Put it in the comments, guys. I mean, I could tell you right now, I need a trip to Jamaica. Would I live there? Maybe not. To be honest, I'm just being honest. And it's not that there's anything wrong with living in Jamaica. I'm sure it's beautiful and everything, but it's just again a matter of preference, what I'm used to. Um, I don't know if I could do it. I could probably live there for a couple of months, maybe. But that's just my opinion. So put in the comments, guys. So I'm probably gonna cut this video short right now. Again, I apologize if you guys couldn't hear me. I had my Bluetooth on, in my phone, and I think whenever you, whenever my Bluetooth is on, I think it cuts the volume out. So I feel kind of silly talking for 20 minutes. So, but maybe it worked. I don't know. I'm gonna go back and look at the video. So put in the comments, guys. Would you move to Jamaica, or are you moving back to your country of origin? And why are you moving back? Put in the comments, guys. And please hit that subscribe button. I appreciate your support, guys. If you like topics like this, you're gonna see more topics like this, guys. Thank you guys so much, guys. Would you move back to Jamaica, guys? Do you think Jamaica is a better place to live than the United States or Canada? If you're making good money, or what would make you move to Jamaica? What would be the criteria? And what are the deal breakers? Is crime a deal breaker? Is poor customer service, like public service, like hospitals, banking services, a deal breaker? What would prevent you from moving to Jamaica? And also on the other side, what would make you want to move to Jamaica? What's the main incentive? Tell me in the comments, guys. But Jamaica is wonderful, trust me. Beautiful, beautiful country. Can you imagine just waking up by the beach with some fresh, inhaling that fresh air, smelling the beach, the seawater. I mean, eating those fresh fruits. Man, I could only imagine that, man. But I mean, again, it's not all peach, right? There's good and bad in everything that you do, in any way that you go, right? All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next